Welcome back to the workshop. Today, I want to take this $10 pen from the grocery store and I want to modify and transform it into a beautiful Damascus and precious metal example that hopefully is worth $10,000. Thank you for watching. This episode is sponsored by Squarespace. You can get a free trial of their fantastic website building platform at squarespace.com/forge and 10% off your first purchase using code FORGE at checkout. Let's jump back into the video. Right, I've got the forge heating up. The first step is going to be forge welding together some Damascus steel so we can get a beautifully patterned steel barrel turned up. So we forge welded the Damascus, we've drawn it out into some square bar, we then rounded out the middle portion, cut it off, and I am twisting these two individual pieces in opposing directions. So this is getting a clockwise twist, and I've lost count. We'll say 6, 7, 10. This twists one way, the other piece is going to twist the other way. I will show you on the whiteboard what that'll make it look like. So this is something you've seen us do before. You've seen Will make Damascus out of this technique. When you put the two opposing direction twists together, it makes this beautiful chevron pattern. Here's the deal. I want to twist the twist. We're going to weld these two back together, forming a bar of Damascus that looks like this. Then I want to twist this so that along our pen flows this beautiful twisted chevron pattern. That's the hope, that's the goal, and fingers crossed it works and looks good. Clean these off here on the Bridgeport so we can stack them back up into a four-way. Okay, we have it forged out in some round bar, we've got our twist done. I think it's going to look rather fabulous. What we now got to do is look at the mechanics of how a ballpoint pen works. So I first found out what a marvel of engineering the clicky pen is from this old Tony's video on push latch mechanisms. And I highly recommend it to learn how a mechanism can both push things out and retract them. And that's the ingeniousness of the average ballpoint pen. Inside, of course, we have the ink cartridge. There's also this little spring within that end bit, and the magic is in here. Now, I don't know how we're going to get it apart. What I'd love to be able to do, because the internal mechanism here is built out of injection molded plastic and is highly complex, is I'd love to be able to gut the internals from this and put them into our Damascus pen. And so maybe we can perform a little surgery to get that plastic bit out. Did you get that, Jamie?
I might have got half of it.
It popped open. Okay, we've got to find the bit that fell on the ground. You got it? Oh, look at that. We've successfully gutted it. I was to guess it's saying that doing small component assembly on a table with holes in it is probably not a good idea.
Yeah, it's not easy being cheesy.
Cheesy? I don't get it.
Cheese have holes in, you know?
Oh, Jesus, have holes in it. That's it. Jamie, this is coming from somebody that makes bad jokes for a living. That's an awful joke. So it's the interaction of the ink cartridge and this white molded component. So it's guided along this black molded component that allows for that clicking to take place. This amazing animation by engineering guy shows how exactly this Parker clicker works. This is a complex bit of engineering. So we've taken to paper with pencil and we've written out the measurements that we need so we know what parameters cannot change. So we're going to cut our metal, then we're going to put it in the lathe. We're just going to jump right in. I don't have a final design, but I always feel better when I'm actually doing something to the material. So the plan right now is we just make a bar of this stuff on the lathe so we can put it in the acid and find the best section of pattern to use for the actual pen. So I just turned it down to 15 millimeters round, and I want to get the surface finish squared away before it goes into the acid so that we can see the pattern as it's revealed. But this is also the perfect opportunity for us to experiment with getting good surface finishes on the lathe. And I've seen on the Fantastic Machining Tips and Tricks Instagram Octane work holding, which I highly recommend following, I've seen him do what you just saw me do. Put some sandpaper in the tool holder, use the power feed, and polish up a bar in the lathe that way. I only had 320 grit sandpaper at hand, and it hasn't worked as well as I would have liked. So what we're going to do is we're going to take one of these A100 Trizact belts, about equivalent to 180 grit. I'm going to split it in half. It's about an inch wide. Split it in half. Right, let's see if the lower grit does the trick. I don't know if that single pass did anything. Stupid. Stupid. Just being stupid. That's what I get for being stupid. The lathe is the most dangerous tool in the workshop, and I just let one of these jaws hit my thumb while the lathe was spinning, and it just obviously has ripped open my thumb and ripped the fingernail off. And I'm so glad it's as little as that. It's being stupid. I was putting a little bit of oil on this while it was spinning, so I'm doing this while it's spinning, and then of course my thumb hits the chuck. There's one tool in this workshop that's most likely to kill me. It's this lathe. And that was an example of not being careful enough.
That was the dumbest thing I've ever seen you do.
Yeah.
I've worked for you for like nearly 4 years.
Yeah. Righto, back to work. So the Trizact didn't really seem to be cutting it enough, so we're going to move down to a 120 grit. Oh, there we go. Now we're making progress. You see how that shine is changing? Before the 120 grit, after the 120 grit. 120 grit was a vast improvement and has left it good enough for us to test etch. So we're going to do just that. But very simply, with just some ferric chloride on a cloth. This is going to be etching and darkening the 1080 steel and leaving the 15N20 steel shiny. Wow, that is a fine pattern that I can barely see. It is always difficult to photograph this stuff, but now my eyes are picking up some good stuff in the pattern. It looks like I've finally twisted Damascus gun barrel. So I think we're going to make this piece out of this section of the Damascus. The twist is a little more open up here, a little finer down here, and that's going to suit the tapering tip of the pen. So on the pen, the pattern should look a little bit like this, which I think is going to be awesome.
What do you mean, all the same?
That's not all the same. Look at that. Tight, loose.
Bro, that is like nearly the same. That doesn't look any different.
So it's back in the lathe, and step one is going to be drilling some long holes. This drill bit does not like trying to cut this Damascus steel, making ghastly noises. Ah, the drill bit is dull. It is sharp now. As you saw, we got the 6mm part of our hole done. I then had the weekend to think of the potential consequences if I messed this up. I got a different computer into the workshop, and I've just been working on Fusion 360, which is working on this one to actually design out and model that front part of our pen, which was crucial as it allowed me to see the instructions I made myself on paper would have led to the front part of my pen ending up in 2 from drilling through it. So with the new drawing and instructions in hand, we're ready to start forming threads, as well as tapering down the body, leaving the final little bit of the hole at this thin section to be done right at the end after the big heavy work is all finished. Alright, so it's now time to think about exactly what thread we need to cut. So most threads, like a standard thread, it's going to be pointy, of course, and we're all familiar with that, and there are 2 measurements to it. The depth from the peak to valley is important, as well as the pitch, which is the distance between the 2 points. So here's the thing, the thread on this pen is not quite so simple. It actually looks kind of rounded in profile. The pitch is 1.1 millimeters or so, and the depth is 0.3 millimeters. My hope is that we can find a way to get close, either by using some of our existing thread cutting tooling, making our own, but I'm even open to going as far as putting a micromotor in the tool holder of the lathe and using a burr to cut the threads. I'm open to all options and possibilities, but it's going to be a peculiar one. This is a standard thread cutting insert for the lathe. Oh, what's that? That looks like a very teeny weeny thread cutting insert for the lathe, which I think could get us in the right direction. Maybe the trick is to use something that's not even remotely designed for cutting threads. So I think this pointy carbide insert might just work perfectly. It's not designed for it, but as they say, it's not stupid if it works. So this is going to be my first thread cutting operation here on the Harrison lathe. We have a chart right here. We need 1.1, so we need CT4W. Okay, so that's CT4W. It works! CT4W. We're going to have the right pitch. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do a little bit of a test. You'd say it looks pretty good. Moment of truth. Let's mess up this part. Oh yes, that is perfect! With the thread cut, it's now on to form the taper. I'm going to form it out of 2 different angles that are meeting here, 61 millimeters from the end. So we're going to have a 1 degree taper. This last bit of taper is I think about 12 degrees. And so what I've done is I've taken this, which is the compound of the lathe. We've set it to 0 degrees. So we're going to use this, now that it's set at the right angle, to cut in and out. So this is just a test etch, so we don't have the final contrast yet, but it's already looking amazing. This is also a test assembly. You'll note I've decided to make our version slightly thicker than the original, but already I'm very excited with how the proportions are looking. Now make sure you subscribe, because I want to make this component of the pen out of platinum, which is disgustingly expensive. Now, we've also got a job opening at the Montana shop, which is conveniently posted on my Squarespace website, who's also the sponsor of this episode. Today's episode has been sponsored by Squarespace, website building platform that allows you, with no coding experience, to design, build, maintain, and update your website as you see fit to showcase the amazing things that you do to the big wide world. I love how empowering Squarespace is, how it can empower a hobbyist to take their hobby into a jobby and eventually into a career. And today, I would like to showcase Twig Woodcraft Craft, who built his website with Squarespace, and he is making beautiful bowls. And bowl turning is a special place in my heart. As of course you probably know, my father is a hobbyist woodworker, and growing up I learned about the joy you can have on a wood lathe by making wood bowls. And so seeing these beautiful box elder bowls that he's making, it's all bringing back a lot of good memories. It's an incredibly powerful platform. You can sell unlimited products, you can sell physical products, digital products, you can even sell your time using their scheduling function to book consultations, and you can use Squarespace member areas to draw revenue from content that you've created by putting it behind a paywall. Please, please, please go build your own website today at squarespace.com/forge. You'll get a free trial, and then using code FORGE will get you 10% off your first purchase. Thank you all for watching. See you all soon. Bye-bye.